Laura and I are here to discuss shaping healthcare narratives in today's media environment. As you mentioned, both Laura and I are partners at Fin. We work specifically in the Earned Health Media Group, which means that it's our bread and butter to sort of coordinate, plan, and place stories with the national, regional, and local healthcare media. Just a word about Fin Partners. We are a global public relations agency. We represent many sectors, one of which is health, which includes, as we are discussing today, digital health, health IT, but also life sciences, pharma, medtech, across a variety of sectors that touch our healthcare environment. So it's great to be here today. A question, we often talk with clients about is why are media relations important to health IT companies? There are really a variety of reasons. Number one, the media is a conduit, and what they generate builds trust and credibility with their key audiences, whether it's consumers, whether it's healthcare professionals, or whether it's people on the street. This is a way to reach them and establish yourself as a trustworthy and credible source. It also accelerates market awareness and business growth. It's a time-honored tradition. People like doing business with companies and people that they trust, and this is one way to make sure that you're seen as a trustworthy partner and grow your brand. You're also shaping your narrative, not just the fact that you exist, but the fact that you're bringing about positive change. Good, reliable media coverage can show how you play into the overall environment and why you are helping to not only bring about positive change, but sort of usher healthcare IT into the next environment, into its next stage. And most importantly, you're positioning your executives, not only just people behind a table, but as thought leaders whose opinions matter, thought leaders who are supporting change, and as thought leaders whose word means a lot across a variety of different audiences.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. As Glenn introduced earlier, my name's Laura O'Neill, and we're really excited about this presentation and the following slides that we have for you today. Because as part of our work, and Glenn started to talk about what Fin Partners does, but what Glenn and I do specifically in public relations is constantly speaking with journalists. We use their insights to understand what is going on in the media landscape, and we take that back to our clients who are looking to us to help them navigate the media landscape with the ultimate goal, right, of getting ink and positive press for them. So the rest of this presentation, as you can see here as a methodology slide, is that we spoke to these reporters informally for a survey. Again, we asked them about what shapes their media coverage and what their thoughts are on the biggest and emerging trends in health IT. For the audience here today, almost 100 of us, that's so great, but I'm sure you all are thinking about ways that you can get your companies or even yourselves into the press with journalists. And so this open door, this open communication with journalists is a great way to do that. So we're excited to share their thoughts in the coming slides. So let's get into what we asked them.
With regard to this open doorway into the media, we started our survey with what would you consider to be the biggest news topics today in health IT and digital health? Probably of no surprise to anybody on the call. Artificial intelligence, AI, took the number one spot at 53.2%, followed by cybersecurity challenges, integration of wearable technology, implementation of electronic health records, and other various topics associated with technology and its use. But knowing what reporters are interested in and what they've decided to cover is really a very practical way into their coverage. If you have any direct or indirect ties to artificial intelligence, chances are you'd want to figure out a way to reach them, talk to them, and figure out ways that you might be able to complement any coverage that's coming down the line. And again, it might not only be about promoting what you're doing, it might be your opinions, your thoughts, where you stand on artificial intelligence and its use. Look at any major newspaper today, and you'll see something about artificial intelligence. And with that in mind, it's really, really important to figure out where you are on the playing field and what you can and how you can possibly contribute to this ongoing coverage.
We also asked them, what do they see as the topic or the headline that's going to continue in the future? And it's still AI. We are in such an uncharted time with AI that reporters are using their roles to educate and inform. And AI is something that they want more information on, and their readers want more information on. So you can see here, that's almost 50% of the pie of the reporters that we surveyed see AI in the future. What I want to call your attention to as well is the other sides of this. You can tell that they're split in terms of what news topic within health IT do they see as being more prevalent. And what that tells Glenn and me as we were analyzing this is that there are different viewpoints and different definitions into what entails health IT, right? It could be mobile health. It could be augmented reality. It could be telehealth. So these reporters at their individual publications see these topics growing, but also see their definitions of what that is. So as Glenn said, when we look to work with reporters to understand how they cover AI, or in one case, or in another, how do they define and cover health IT, matching up those strategies also helps increase your chance of getting the reporter to cover your client, your company, yourself, if you are also kind of speaking the language of where and how they're writing for their readers.
Part of, again, getting a part of working with reporters is not only understanding what they want to cover, but understanding, what are the misunderstandings in this space and why it's important to clarify any gaps in knowledge. Because, let's artificial intelligence, there are so many different schools of thought. As Laura said, as many as there are accurate, there are myths and misconceptions out there. So a really good way to work with the media is by telling them what is accurate and reliable. Talk about what is being misrepresented in the public sphere, whether it's through other media or whether it's through, public speaking or through anything else. But talk to them what is being misrepresented. Obviously, here concerns about AI replacing human healthcare took the number one spot. But data privacy, there's a lot of misinformation about that as well. There are a lot of people out there that think that by putting their information into a digital form will leave them open for big misunderstandings or big breaches. Belief that telemedicine offers inferior care, that's another one that if you're a player in the space and you want to be a trailblazer, these are misconceptions that you can straighten out with accurate and reliable information. Also consider underestimation of the importance of digital literacy and IT tools. These are things that I think reporters, a lot of very high profile reporters, would be open to hearing from you with accurate and reliable information again, but specific examples as to why it may not be true.
So the rest of our final two questions for the journalists, we're looking not at what they're covering, but the inner workings of their work and what they want to cover and what their preferences are. And these insights really reveal the vital role that journalists play. As I mentioned earlier, they're not just here to report. That's definitely a very important part of it, but they're here to clarify information. And the work that they output really underscores why our work as PR practitioners must go beyond just generating buzz for our client, but to help deliver messages that educate and inform about what is going on from our clients and from the general health IT landscape. So you'll see here 60% of our surveyed reporters, when asked about what most routinely determines the stories that they're covering, 60% said technologies with the potential to transform healthcare delivery in IT and health coverage was the biggest one. And that was just as important as stories that align with current healthcare challenges, right? This might seem very obvious to you, but when we think about what we call pitches to reporters or those initial conversations, sometimes you miss that selling point of what difference you're bringing or what value you're creating in the landscape in the industry. And so it's so important to reinforce that. I think just under that, you'll see insights from healthcare. That is the first part of insights from healthcare professionals and patients, which shows us the importance of that thread of human voice. It is one thing to talk about your benefits, and we definitely want to help shape that narrative and make sure reporters are understanding of the value your company is bringing, but also having those third-party advocates to talk about the meaningful change that your company's technologies have brought to them helps the journalists to put that finer point and to illustrate that. And that is what is the secret sauce of getting that ink is really being able to articulate those stories. I think the last piece of this chart that I'll chat about today is that healthcare policy and regulation definitely was at the top as well. And I think for that, reporters are just trying to understand what's going on in this very ever-changing landscape. So to be able to, again, as Glenn said earlier, bring back your points to what's going on in the current news cycle.
The question, it's almost answers itself. Do you see news coverage about health IT and digital health growing in the future? Now, of course it will. As the technology develops, journalists will start to devote more ink to covering them and talking about how they play into today's healthcare paradigm. The point is, as you have something to communicate, do so. You can do so in the context of clinical trials. You could do so in the context of publications. You can do so in the way of contributed articles. There are a lot of ways to contribute with reporters, but if you don't do it, they won't know about it. Three key tips, though, as you consider communications and begin to ramp up the machine. Think about the overall story. Reporters might want to interview all those involved, whether it's a healthcare provider, a patient, the person who's responsible for the technology. You need to put out good information, but you also need to make the players behind the story available and be ready to provide details. These reporters, as you all know, are in the business of medical science, and the numbers matter. Accessibility to the research matters. A glimpse inside the lab matters. This is what reporters will not only want, but will insist on having at their disposal before they start to seriously consider generating coverage. And again, the necessity for validation. You need to show how it plays, how it looks in the real world. Okay, not only just from the boardroom, but how it looks and bring in real people with real stories, with real experiences. That's the best way to sort of pass the threshold and get reporters committed to developing a story. Be a resource. Understand these are real people with real deadlines and real jobs. Be a resource to them and help them generate their coverage. And chances are you can use media relations as an asset to promoting yourself to the outside world.
All right, with that, our 15 minutes are up. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you to the journalists who participated in our survey. Glenn and my emails, as well as our Twitter handles, are listed there, and we'd be happy to continue the conversation. Thank you so much for tuning in.